Thank you so much for coming tonight, Ken. I have to admit that you were on my wish list.
Thank you very much.
I saw your profile on LinkedIn and I was like, oh, I want him to come and talk. And then I was very lucky that we were introduced. So really appreciate that you're here tonight. And I know that you have an incredible history in the startup world. And I was wondering if you want to tell us a little bit about what got you here.
Yeah, so I've been in startups for 20 years, and what brought me into fintech and in payments was actually walking into the wrong room at the wrong time and meeting the wrong people, who had a really awesome idea to how can we bring you and I take for granted the power of PayPal, just sending money back and forth to each other, but immigrants don't have that capability. So the idea was, let's allow immigrants to send money anywhere in the world. And so we put this together, and we were the first team to send $1 around the world, touching 10 countries on every continent, and even through an outage of the mobile network in Costa Rica, we're sitting there doing a transaction while no one could actually make a phone call. It was a really fun event.
Incredible. Well, my God, you made history. That's so cool. No one will ever beat you with that one.
Yeah, it's awesome to do things the first time, right? And as an entrepreneur, that's what you're striving to do, is do something first, do something better, something that no one has done before. And the fintech world is just ripe for those opportunities.
It is really, isn't it? So tell me a little bit about SnapCheck.
Yeah, so at SnapCheck, we're looking at a problem that businesses have. Businesses are really slow to change. And what we've seen is that businesses still today, 92% of them use paper checks to conduct their business-to-business transactions. And in the modern world where we whip out a cell phone and can do everything through our Android, why are people still falling back to paper, pencil, and envelopes and stamps in order to make payments to their vendors? So we're addressing that problem and helping businesses to cross that digital divide.
And I bet that's a bit of a challenge, is it? You're again having to be a bit of a pioneer to break that ground.
It is a challenge. This is one of the things that most fintechs overlook, is that when you're dealing with money, you're dealing with people and their biggest, most deeply held concerns. Right? What happens if the payment doesn't get made? What happens if my money gets lost? So they're really reluctant to change just because of that skepticism and those doubts and fears. So overcoming that and helping bridge that digital divide, bring people into a modern world and a new way of thinking, it is a big challenge around fintech.
I think in any sort of innovative industry, you're basically having to be an educator as well as an innovator, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and especially with money, right? It's all education, and a lot of the work that we're doing on the Business Payments Coalition, one of the Fed Improvement projects, is around how do you educate the business users that there's a better way. Right, payments aren't necessarily top of mind in any business. Right, they're busy trying to make sales, get revenue, and dealing with HR issues. So making a payment is bottom of the totem pole. So how do you bring them to the point where we're thinking, hey, it's time to upgrade that. You're wasting a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and there's a lot of risks in the way that you're doing things traditionally. And there's a better way. You don't have to be trapped in that old world.
Fantastic, so exciting. Tell me, what sort of, I guess every startup faces challenges, but can you think of like a big challenge that you've faced in the fintech area that, you may still be working on?
Yeah, well, I think it's gotten better over the past few years, but we're trying to collaborate and work with the financial infrastructure, work with banks, work with payment processors, and those entities are slow to adopt, slow to change, slow to collaborate. In the past couple of years, a lot of banks have opened up innovation centers, they're holding hackathons, so they're getting into a process and a mode of thinking of collaboration, but it's still an evolving process, and hopefully it'll move faster and faster as things progress.
Well, I guess now they're having so much contact with all the entrepreneurs and startups in the fintech domain, hopefully that will change them as well as the banks might change us too.
Yeah, I think it has to, right? Because you're seeing different fintechs out there that are challenging core banking functions. So it's one of those things where they either adapt or die, and adapting is a lot better than dying.
Sure. sure. So tell me, what's your vision of the future for fintech? What do you think is going to be possible down the line?
Well, I think this trend is going to continue. I think that banks are going to collaborate a lot more with fintechs in order to do a co-branding, co-offering. Some different demographics, millennials may like things that are non-bank branded, but you still want the safety, security of that banking grade service behind the scenes. Whereas different demographics may want to bring a new innovative service but want it delivered through their bank. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the cross-pollination between startup, mature company, and bank and financial institutions.
Fantastic. I always love it. Entrepreneurs always say opportunity rather than challenge. It's great. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm so looking forward to this talk.
All right, thank you very much. Pleasure.